Hi, I'm Zach from Corexcell. Today we're going to show you one of the greatest hamstring exercises for not only training strength, but also training speed. And keep in mind that all the exercise that we've shown you and the exercise that we're going to show you in the following episodes for shoulder and core, we've all created here in Corexcell. You're not going to see it anywhere else. Before we show you the exercise, we're going to show you a testimonial from one of our athletes and how we improve their speed.
Been training here for about 10 years at Corexcell. When I first started, my 40 time was a 5.2. I got hurt in high school, first game my senior year. I decided to take a whole year off instead of rushing into that next season. And all my numbers just improved drastically. So I got my 40 time down to a 4.8. Then after my college football career, I started training for my NFL Pro Day, Temple. I was able to get that 4.8 down to a 4.71.
Keep in mind that this is the last exercise we're going to be showing you on the hips. If you want to learn more, check out our Corexcell app so you can learn all 12 exercises and also the 12 progressions that we have for each exercise. And remember, these are very detailed videos so that you can learn accurately how to do these exercises. No matter how good I make the videos, you're always going to miss a piece, and it's very important if you get into this to make sure that you do the video call sessions. And we offer 30-minute video call sessions, and you can just do one. It's very inexpensive, and that way we can just check out your form and make sure you're doing things right. General curling exercises, the Nordic curl, the glute ham are not as effective at training the hamstrings as this exercise, and we're going to explain to you at the end why that is.
All right, so the setup here is pretty simple. All you need is a flat bench, okay, and some place to rest your feet. Notice how I have these dumbbells here, the heavy dumbbells, so that when I go to put my feet here, there's going to be tension coming that way so the bench doesn't lift off the ground, okay? You could also put additional weight here if you don't have someone to sit on it for you. Notice how we stacked up these mats here because you want the distance between the center piece here to the top of the mat to be roughly, so you can see here we have it set to about 11 inches. And then you want to get yourself a 2-inch thick pad. Okay, this pad's about 2 inches, but it's going to compress down to about 1 inch.
So if you don't have the bench setup that we have, you can just use a squat rack, and you can just set the pins here. So this is 11 inches off the ground, and then you just make sure that you get a foam pad here to put your legs under. Very simple. It's really important to make sure you have the proper height. If you don't, you're not going to get the correct force onto the hamstring. You need to have the right angle in your legs as you come down, and that's the key to it. So make sure you set the right height.
So the most important piece of this exercise is the foot positioning, okay? What we're doing with this exercise is we're trying to target the bicep femoris and the semimembranosus, okay? If you get off and go into the wrong foot positioning, you'll only target the bicep femoris. So you'll notice here how my knees are right inside my hip line, okay? And you'll notice how my heels are slightly turned out in the back, and I'm not letting them cave in, okay? And so the outside of my ankles here are in line with the hip bone, all right? It's right outside of the hips, and then the knees are right inside of the hips.
The other reason why you want to immediately rotate the feet in while you're doing this hamstring exercise is because the glute medius and minimus are also part of hip extension. So if we immediately rotate, we're going to activate those and strengthen those while we do this exercise, along with the semimembranosus and also the bicep femoris. So with this exercise here, he's going to start off with his whole hands on the ball. Okay, we're not going to actually do the fingertips. And the reason being is because we don't want his form to break down. We want to make sure that he understands how to tuck his hips, get in the right position. Usually we do this for about 2 or 3 sessions, okay, with the athlete before we start going to the different levels with the fingertips. And also, if you have problems with this exercise, you feel like even when you go to the fingertips, you can't maintain your position, you need to spend more time on the knee and bridge and get that stronger.
So when I'm out here using the ball, my knee angle is about 90 degrees. So in total, you're about 12 inches in front of your knees with the hips. So once I get into the right position here, all I'm going to do is tuck my hips, squeeze into my glutes, and really feel those hamstrings fire up. What you want to make sure you're not doing is extending at the hips and not tucking the hips. So I'm squeezing my glutes, but I'm not tucking, I'm just extending at the hips. What you want to do is you want to tuck the hips, okay? And you want to make sure that your feet are staying pulled back, toes pulled back. You don't want to have your feet straighten out and start pointing up towards the ceiling, because then you're going to take some tension off of the hamstring. And you want to make sure that your feet are staying turned in, heels facing out. So it would be helpful to have a partner here. Notice how he's helping me with my foot positioning, okay? A lot of starters are going to want to rotate those heels in and those feet outward, which would target more of the biceps femoris, okay? We're trying to get all of the hamstring here. I'm down here at 90 degrees. I'm tucking, I'm rolling the hips. Light on the ball, but I'm using all 5 of my fingers. Then you're going to go to 3 fingers, so you got your middle finger, your index finger, and your thumb. And you're still able to maintain that same tuck and squeeze into the hamstrings and glutes. So the next step is just using your 2 fingers. And obviously by using 2 fingers, I'm putting more pressure on the hamstring. And you can see I'm shaking now because this is about where I train at right now.
This is how we do our advanced testing, okay? And we don't train like this because it becomes more like the Nordic curl and you don't get that glute activation into the hamstrings. But this is just a great way to see how strong your athlete has gotten from the results of be able to get onto the finger and the thumb on that last level there on the ball. So let's go ahead and take a look at this. So if I'm testing here, I just want to make sure that we get an accurate test and that his feet are in the right position here. Put your knees in a little closer. Okay. That way we can see, because we don't want him cheating and rolling out. Okay. And now we're going to see where he can get to here. Go ahead. And up. That's awesome right there. This is the combined progression with the knee in bridge. And how this works basically with the knee in bridge. The knee in bridge is going to be it's basically 50% glute, 50% hamstring. That could be a little inaccurate, but the bottom line is you're really tying the glute with the hamstring. With the North Pole, it's extremely hamstring dominant, but we're still teaching the glutes to connect with the hamstring. So by combining these 2 exercises, doing one on one day and one on another day, what you're essentially doing is you're properly training the entire posterior chain between the hamstring and the glute. So now when you go to sprint or you go to jump, those are going to be working in unison with each other to really catapult up your speed and also your jumping ability. So when we first started doing the glute ham, we would just go up and down, okay? And once I saw how valuable and how important it was to tuck and to squeeze the glutes at the same time use the hamstrings, and you could tie those 2 components together from a strength speed standpoint, but also from a protection standpoint. That's when we started to do all our glute ham exercises and tuck and squeeze while we were doing it. Training the glute ham this way, we noticed that when we test the athlete and move the back of the arms way far up and put their knees higher up on the pad so there was less leverage, so you're more in like a Nordic curl type position, we noticed how strong they would get from that position, because now they weren't just using their hamstrings, they were also using their glutes at the same time. But then you find out how important it is to pull the toes back whenever you're trying to engage the hamstrings. If you don't pull the toes back, you don't get as deep into the hamstring fibers. So that's the problem with the glute ham, is that your feet are locked in, you're pushing this way, but you can't curl the toes back. But this exercise, I think, is more beneficial because of that component that I just mentioned. And the final exercise is the Nordic curls, where you're going down, you have your legs, a bar or something underneath your legs, and you're going down. And there's 2 major problems with trying to train this way too, is that one, it's very hard to pull the toes back. You'll see guys, and most of the time, they're like this. So you're getting a lot of lower hamstring activation when you do this, and also you're tying a lot into the bicep femoris here, the hamstring, because it's very hard to toe in with that exercise. Secondly, because there's so much torque on the hamstrings here, it's almost impossible to tuck your glutes and squeeze them at all during this exercise. So now it becomes very hamstring dominant, And the likelihood now of pulls are going to significantly increase. And because you're using a pull and because you're using your hands, at every position you're really learning how to tie that glute with the hamstrings, even as you put more torque onto the hamstring. So you're properly developing it in stages with the glute.